G'day. The US GP in Austin, Texas is one of the biggest races on the F1 calendar, with more than 430,000 people attending. Why is it so popular? Let's take a look. The US GP is the biggest race of the three US races, has about 100,000 more spectators than Vegas, and more than 150,000 more spectators than Miami. Why is it so popular? Well, a variety of reasons. Certainly the atmosphere at the track is magnificent. With such a large crowd in attendance, there are no security issues in Austin. Everyone's pretty relaxed and free to get around. The track itself, being a permanent track, is obviously a much better alternative to the tracks in Vegas and Miami, which are set up and pulled down. And then you have the circuit itself. It has a very steep turn up to turn one, a tight first corner, a huge general admission area to the left. In fact, all of the general admission areas provide pretty good views. And in terms of value, not bad. $180 for a GA ticket on Saturday, $250 on race day. And parking, I'll get to that in a minute. That is quite a surprise. But I do love the stars and stripes that abound around the track. We've got this huge tower, which features in a lot of our photographs, but is also a great spot to access a view of the track. And you can actually get up there during the race weekend. I think you just buy a ticket. Luckily, we get a chance to go up there for 10 or 15 minutes to shoot. From turn one, we can see the city in the background. They've got this monstrous flag, which is visible at this particular shot as they come over the crest. But transport can be tricky. I mentioned parking. I can tell you that if you want a good park close to the track, the circuit will sell you a ticket for $375 US. Bam! That's a lot of money. But it is a shortish walk from your car to the track entry. You don't have to get a bus elsewhere, which you'll save money on, but you'll be queuing for some time. Do the drivers love it? Yeah, I think it's a bit like Australia, a bit of a party atmosphere. Daniel Ricciardo was one of the biggest fans of this race, and he was bitterly disappointed, obviously, not to get a chance to race here again. I know he had a helmet all set to go for this race. I guess we won't be seeing that. But he was a big fan of the University of Texas. I've seen their mascot at the track a couple of times, and in fact this year there is a big University of Texas football game on the Saturday night. That will bring in tens of thousands of people to the city, as will F1, and that's why accommodation prices are so darn pricey for this race, and sold out pretty much a long time ago. There are still the odd offerings here and there. Back to Daniel Ricciardo's love of America. Yes, hats and stars and stripes shoes. His race suit one year was made to look like a cowboy outfit, and a lot of the guys do wear in cowboy boots. Where do they get them from? Well, a lot of them go to places like Allen's on South Congress to get their boots. And not just boots, cowboy hats. Seb wore one. Zhou Guanyu was wearing one. Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hülkenberg, even Lance Stroll. But do any drivers ride in on a horse? Well, we have seen one in one of the most interesting publicity stunts I've ever seen. Going back to 2022, Daniel Ricciardo rode in on a horse. I was quite lucky to capture this event because it happened at around 9:30 a.m. on day one of the race. Now, typically, a lot of the photographers and media won't be there at that time. I was, and I was rewarded with this sighting of Daniel coming through the gates on board Horsey McHorse. You'll remember it had its own media pass. The whole thing only lasted about 10 minutes, but it was one of the most memorable publicity stunts I can recollect. Have we seen other interesting sights in this paddock? Yes, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz dressing up in cowboy hats with fake moustaches for a publicity shoot last year. And in terms of wild animals, yes, a bull last year out the front of the paddock. That is something very typical of the state of Texas. What's the paddock like, you ask? Well, it's interesting because they don't have motorhomes. They don't have a purpose-built series of hospitality suites either. They bring in these tents, which are so-so, but the paddock itself is not very wide. It has a good buzz, and I can tell you that it was also the scene of the coldest ever day I have ever experienced photographing Formula One. That was back in 2019, and it was bitter. It was about 3 degrees Celsius when I got there, and only managed to get to 14 at the peak of the day. I'm told that's unusual. You can see turn one clearly from the paddock, and there are also balconies above the paddock where corporate clients stand out the back and watch the goings-on down below. And after quali and post-race, you'll get hundreds of people up there cheering drivers as they make their way along. And it's something perhaps we only see maybe in Brazil, has a similar sort of arrangement in a very close atmosphere. Another winning strategy on behalf of the organiser is the concerts. Some big names have played there in the past, and not only does that provide the patrons with better value, it also helps in dispersing people out onto the streets at the end of the day so that traffic is not quite as bad as it could be. And do we see many celebrities? Yes. Over the years I've been shooting, I've spotted the likes of President Clinton on the podium handing out trophies, along with Usain Bolt. We've had Shaquille O'Neal. Last year, Prince Harry, a big sighting. We got word early one day that the Prince would be coming. And sure enough, it did turn out to be. I don't know whether he'll be back again this year, but we'll wait and see. Brad Pitt in 2022. Ed Sheeran with Kevin Mayer as his bodyguard. And Kevin was the most difficult security guard we've ever had to work with. He was very diligent in trying to position himself between Ed and us photographers. But we did not give up. Adam Driver spotted doing some promotion for his F1 movie in the paddock. Rory McIlroy, golfer of note. Patrick Dempsey, of course, an actor that also is very big in car racing. Boxer Anthony Joshua, and a whole host of others. Yes, a bit like Vegas, we see some scantily clad models. This woman out on the grid prior to one of the race starts, and Megan Thee Stallion in pit lane, performing for the cameras and sponsored by Cash App. And while still on the subject of models, are these models or are these athletes? The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Of course, you're not allowed to have grid girls in Formula One, but the cheerleaders, well, they're wholeheartedly endorsed. Some of the great memories I have of this event are Kimi Räikkönen winning in 2018. Now remember, his previous win was in Australia in 2013, and he would not win another race after this one. This was a pivotal moment for Kimi, and I was delighted to be front and centre for that. Lewis Hamilton claimed the World Drivers' Championship in 2019. There was great celebrations after the event, and he, in fact, after the press conference, walked back through the media centre. And that is very rare for a driver at that particular track to walk back through the media centre. I know why he did it, because it bypassed the large crowd that were waiting out the front of the media centre, which is smack bang in the middle of the paddock. We also see drivers arriving in some pretty interesting road vehicles. And this year, I'm told Lando Norris will be coming in on one of the mornings in something quite remarkable. I'll tell you more in my Drivers Drove video after the 2024 GP. And because F1 is so popular in this city, often the drivers need police escorts, not just when they're arriving by car, but when they arrive by bike. And Valtteri Bottas, on a couple of occasions, has rolled up to the track riding a Harley with his girlfriend Tiffany on the back. And where would Valtteri be coming from? Well, he'd be coming from the centre of the city. Austin's about a 30-minute drive. It's a pleasant drive on a freeway or two from a city that has a population of just shy of 1 million people. And what's the city like? Well, it's colourful. A beautiful river that runs along the side of the downtown area, and it is the live music capital of the world. If you love live music, you will love Austin, Texas, in particular 6th Street. The two sides of 6th Street, one's clean and one's dirty, and the dirty side is rugged. It's a bit rugged, say, with some interesting bars, interesting clientele, but it is immensely popular, especially this Pete's Piano Bar. Although if you're looking for something a little bit classier, you might go to somewhere like Rainey Street, once again, lots of different music venues there, or South Congress, which is probably a step up from Rainey Street, and not quite as vibrant and on a busy road, but a number of great restaurants and bars to hang out at. And if you're going from the city to South Congress, you have to pass over the Congress Avenue Bridge. Now this is the scene of something quite remarkable. Not that I've seen it. In fact, I waited about an hour one night for this to happen. This bridge plays host to the Austin Bats. It is Austin's most popular tourist attraction. It's home to the largest urban bat colony in North America, about 1.5 million Mexican free-tail bats. These bats take off en masse, heading out to feed. And it happens between 30 and 60 minutes before sunset. If you happen to be in the city around that time, it is well worth a look. One thing I will say though, accommodation can be quite pricey, and especially given that Saturday night game this year. So you need to be booking well early and know that the top properties like the Four Seasons, going to be around 4,000 Aussie a night, what's that, 2,500 US a night. Fairmont, going to be up there as well. I stayed at the Hyatt Regency across the river, and that to me was an okay hotel, way overpriced. W in Town's nice. But if you're prepared to stay out of town, you'll save yourself a whole lot of money. But you won't get the buzz of Austin during Grand Prix week. Food-wise, yeah, you'll be paying top dollar too for great restaurants, and you'll need to book early, especially given this weekend has that football game on. And if you don't manage to get a flight into Austin, it's only a 3-hour drive from Dallas, and I think maybe even a little bit shorter, to Houston. In fact, I had an interesting occurrence once. I rented a car from Dallas and was going to drop it back to the 6th rent-a-car office in Austin, so I was heading out to the airport to take my flight. I'd done no research, and I get out there, oh no, they don't have an office at the airport. They don't even have an office in Austin. So I was stuck with this car, and I couldn't get it back to Dallas because I had a flight, so I ended up cancelling that flight, getting one out of Houston, which was a shorter trip, and in the end, bizarrely, saved $400 on the flight. Saving money on missed flights does not happen very often for me. This year we've got some interesting things to look for race-wise. Liam Lawson having his first race for VCARB in 2024. His battle with Yuki Tsunoda should be quite interesting because I think there's probably a seat at Red Bull up for grabs for the better of the two drivers. We've got Franco Colapinto in his 4th race, and at the time of recording this, there are still 15 of those signed prints from Franco at kimillman.com. I don't think we'll be seeing Daniel Ricciardo at the track, but there's no doubt we should see the 3-day attendance figure at more than 400,000, a great atmosphere, hopefully some marvellous racing, and perhaps even Lando Norris further closing in on Max Verstappen's lead in the World Drivers' Championship. Great to see you've got through to nearly the end of this video. If you're coming to Austin, Texas this year, I look forward to seeing you in the crowd or in the paddock. And for a whole lot of extra content from me, along with merchandise and stuff, this is where you need to go. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Dan, horse, f*** off, horse. Oh, I've got to stop it.